And so, with that preface, I do need to now disclose that I did not love Frankenstein. However, I have many disclosures.
Well, I absolutely hate disagreeing with Jay Stoops, but as somebody who also saw Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and me personally absolutely loving it, I wanted to have a little discussion here because I think that Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is going to be a perfect example of how a lot of people can intuitively understand what a director is trying to do and understand why the director is making those choices that they're making, but it still might not work for you. I am a lifelong fan of Frankenstein. This is my copy of Frankenstein. It's not my original. I lost that years ago when I was homeless. But Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein does make a lot of changes in its adaptation, particularly having to do with Victor's upbringing and the character of Elizabeth. Some people feel as though this change results in defying the themes of the original novel, and I actually heavily disagree. I think that it expands upon them by telling it in a more personal way. Guillermo del Toro's version of Frankenstein, Victor Frankenstein himself, feels to me very much like a BoJack Horseman. I don't feel like it's trying to absolve Victor of being the monster by saying that he had a horrible upbringing with a horrible childhood. I think that it's using that to explain the cycle of violence and child abuse and talking about breaking the cycle, which to me, I feel very much upholds the romantic elements of the original novel. I mentioned this in a previous video, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a commentary on the two different kinds of concepts that were happening in the romantic movement at the time. The masculine romantic movement was celebrating imagination, creativity, and man's dominance over nature, whereas the feminine romantic movement was celebrating things like, equality in love and marriage, and saying that you can't dominate nature, you have to nurture it. This is a very simplified explanation. Please read the actual novel for more information. I think that Guillermo del Toro's version falls in line with that. It's on a more personal level. The thing is, I think Megan understands this. I think a lot of audience members are going to understand that, at least on an intuitive level, even if you don't have the same language that I do. But for a lot of people, that's also not going to work. That's not going to speak to them the way it spoke to me. And that doesn't make my opinion more valid. That doesn't make anybody's opinion less valid. Me, personally, this film is going to be such a great example of how subjective art is and how personal your tastes really are, which is honestly the beauty of it. That's what I love about art. I highly encourage people to go see this and form their own opinion.